Joining me now, Jonathan Givony from Draft Express and ESPN. John, how you doing today, man, here in Chicago?
I'm doing great. It's an awesome week, very productive. It's nonstop in the gym with conversations and drills and athletic testing and the scrimmages. So there's a lot going on, but it's been a lot of fun.
I mean, I appreciate you carving out some time to talk with me on this podcast today. We're going to do 23 questions about the NBA draft. 23 because we're in Chicago in honor of Michael Jordan, of course. Number one, let's just get going right away. You were on ESPN yesterday. You were talking about Dylan Harper going to be the number 2 pick, whether it's San Antonio or somebody else. You talked about how the Spurs seem comfortable pairing Harper with De'Aaron Fox, with Stephon Castle. I'm curious, what would you do, though, if you're the Spurs in that number 2 slot right now? What would be your number 1 priority as the Spurs?
If I'm drafting, I'm taking Dylan Harper. He's the second best prospect in the draft, and I think there's a pretty big gap there after him, just with the season that he had. And for me, watching the NBA playoffs, seeing how important it is to have that big shot creator with a strong frame who can just get in the paint and play through contact and draw fouls, score, but also create for others and defend too, multiple positions. I think that's really, really important.
Leadership too, potentially.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's got all the character and everything that you're looking for at that spot. But, you know, if Giannis is there for me, I mean, I got to look at that, man. 30-year-old Hall of Famer in his prime. Like, I'm just so intrigued by the pairing of Victor and Giannis. And, like, how do you score on that? And so I don't know if that's realistic. I'm not even sure that's in play, but that would really intrigue me. That'd be something that I would definitely explore at least. I
mean, I think for the Spurs, that would be number 1 on my wish list is trade for Giannis and Antetokounmpo. It's almost kind of an obvious thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, so how many opportunities do you have to add a top 5 player in the NBA, especially when you started, you know, with the 6th pick, you know, and to thinking it through that lens, you know, it's like, man, I want to win right now. Let's add, you know, like an all NBA first team guy who's won a championship, and imagine like 4 or 5 pick and roll, Giannis and Victor, like either one running it, setting a ball screen, rolling. I mean, like, man, that's going to be that'd be really hard to slow down.
And then you have Fox with his downhill attacking ability. They've already hit the accelerator a little bit on how they want to build around Victor by trading for Fox. And then you have his downhill attacking ability. For all we talked about what Dame and Giannis could have been, maybe it's the downhill attacking point guard and Fox that could really unleash Giannis the roller. Now, with Giannis, second question here, do you have any intel on like what he might favor the most here for his next team if he does indeed leave the Bucks?
I haven't spoken with his camp or anything. You know, you hear the rumors, whatever, but like that's really like more Sham's department. And so I have no idea what Giannis wants to do or what's going to end up happening there. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up staying in Milwaukee, you know, like he's been there his whole career. I mean, he's obviously very comfortable there, and he's had opportunities where he could have asked out or whatever. So I don't have any like firm intel, but I wouldn't surprise me if Giannis is in a Bucks uniform next season.
It wouldn't shock me necessarily either. We've seen this story play out before. What was it, like 4 years ago? Malik Andrews had the story about, Giannis will reevaluate his position there. We've seen this kind of play out. We've seen him play, you know, his power spot here in Milwaukee and try to get them to make deals.
That's how you put pressure on them. It's like, hey, guys, I want to win, you know. It's like, we're not going to rebuild now. You know, like
it's just they're running out of things to do.
That's true. Issue. Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, that's
Dame's out.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a real problem for them. No question.
And now at number 3 right now, among Philadelphia 76ers fan, of course, it's a big win. They get to keep their pick. They move up to number 3. There's already kind of like a war among Sixers fans about Ace Bailey. You have Sixers fans that want Ace Bailey because of his upside, 6'9", 6'10", shot maker. Then you have a lot of Sixers fans who are like, he couldn't help Rutgers win. How is he going to help us win games here right now? With Ace Bailey, I think he's most likely to bust of the top 5 guys. That's my opinion. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, I mean, I love Ace Bailey. I live in New York, so I got a chance to spend a lot of time at Rutgers, both practices and games. I also watched him quite a bit. USA basketball in high school. I've had an opportunity to get to know him also off the court. And I firmly believe that Ace Bailey is going to be a star in the NBA. And I went to watch him work out a couple of days ago. A guy with that kind of size and length and explosiveness and shot making prowess. He's 18 years old, doesn't turn 19 until August. He's I think people talk about the Rutgers stuff and all that, sure, you can knock him for that, but he's a very competitive guy. He wants to win. He's about the right things. I just watching the interaction between him and Dylan Harper, like those guys, obviously, like Dylan Harper wouldn't mess with a guy like that if he was like a loser, and Dylan, Ace Bailey, he's going to be big time, I think. And if I'm Philadelphia, I'm 100% drafting him third.
100%.
Yeah, no question about it.
Even if it means, like you're minimizing chances now of.
I don't see the alternative. Like VJ Edgecombe, how does that make sense with Maxey and McCain? Jeremiah Fears, obviously not. Trey Johnson, I can see the argument, but
a lot of overlap with Maxey and McCain though with him.
Yeah, I mean he could probably play the three, because he's 6'6", 6'10" wingspan, obviously not very strong, and the defense was not very good at Texas this year, but
Knippel on a trade down, something like that, perhaps.
Sure, I'm a big Knippel guy, so if that's the direction that they go, absolutely. So, I think Ace Bailey, 3. That's who I would take.
Now we see, the Wizards and the Jazz move down 4 spots. Dallas obviously moves up to number 1. The whole NBA world is shocked by that. Do you think the NBA should reform the lottery again?
I don't know what they would do, because it's so ugly, like the second half of the year as it is already. Yeah. And so I think if you just give the number 1 pick to the worst team, like it's just going to cause teams to just tank the entire season and not half the year. And so, but I feel for the Wizards and the Jazz. I have friends in those front offices, New Orleans, and it's a huge kick in the nuts. Like you spend the whole year. Putting yourself in position to hopefully get Cooper Flagg, and if not Flagg, then one of the other top guys. And then I don't know, how do you sell that to your fan base? Like, what do we do? Are we going to go back to that well now again? And so it's brutal. Honestly, it's brutal. So I don't know what the solution is.
Now, along the lines with the Wizards and the Jazz, they fall 4 spots. Of those 2 teams, who has more incentive to trade up in the draft?
Between
the Wizards and the Jazz.
I would probably say the Jazz, because I think they have more picks and they really have. I mean, they both need a star, and with Lowry, like I think you want to get this thing going. Like they've kind of been treading water a little bit.
Unless you're trading Lowry Markkanen.
Right.
You could go the other way after not trading him last year.
True. Yeah. I honestly haven't thought about that much, but I would think Utah.
I think so too. I mean, with the Wizards, I think you're playing a little slow with Utah. I think there's a little bit more pressure, especially if you keep Lowry Markkanen. I want to talk about the scrimmage this week. We saw day 1 of the scrimmages yesterday. You wrote on ESPN about this with your biggest takeaways. Maxime Raynaud, Stanford center, had 29 and 3. He was communicating on defense, measured in at 7 foot barefoot, 9 foot 2 standing reach. With Raynaud, I've been pretty high on him. I've had him top 20. I think he's currently 16 or 15 on my board. The versatility, we saw the shot making with him, the movement threes and all that. You have him 34 on your board. And I know your board is typically a reflection of NBA teams with what they're feeling about other guys. Is that accurate to say, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
Why is there such a differential between where I have him and like late lotto, mid first to early second with NBA teams? Where's that gap?
I think teams wanted to see him in this setting. I think that's helped him a lot, being able to play alongside better players and display a higher level of intensity and physicality than what we had seen in his 4-year career. Now, the thing about Maxime that you have to remember is that he's very late to the game. I mean, he didn't really start playing basketball or in an organized way until he was 16. Was this like incredible student. He went to like the best high school in France, and he's a genius. And he was like this elite swimmer. And so I think, you have to think about him in a little bit of a different lens in terms of like what his upside is. It's not like that of a typical 22-year-old. So I come into this week like with eyes wide open, and we've seen year after year that guys, compete in the scrimmages and they help themselves and they move up. And so I think Maxime Raynaud did that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think the dude's awesome. I think especially with the way teams are using two bigs nowadays, you're seeing so much of that. And another guy that stood out the scrimmages, Yaxel Lendeborg, could be going to Michigan this year. He had a very good performance for the scrimmage team. 6'10", 7'4" wingspan. You reported he requires a guarantee in order to stay in the draft rather than going to Michigan where he'd fill in for Danny Wolf. I mean, a really big role for him. What's your prediction with Yaxel Lendeborg? What does he do? Stay or go?
We're going to see what happens in the scrimmage today. I think that's going to have a major influence. I think he's torn, just like.
Is it 50-50 with him?
That's what he said yesterday. And, I broke the story of him going to Michigan, and I spent a lot of time on the phone with him in the lead up to that. We had 2 different conversations, and we talked through a lot of it, only like a very small handful of quotes actually made into the story. And I felt like he really wants to go to college. Like he's not 100% ready yet. I mean, if you think about his backstory too, like also didn't start playing organized. He only played 11 varsity games in high school, and it was a senior year. He had all these academic
That's
issues.
crazy.
He was this like big time gamer, and he told me he'd like wake up every morning at 7 a.m. or whatever, 8 o'clock, head down to his mom's basement, just spend like 18 straight hours.
Oh, he was that guy when people talk trash on video games. You're in your mom's basement.
Exactly.
He was actually that guy.
That was him. Yeah. And so like he couldn't care less about school, and so like he was just all about video games for the longest time. And his mom
games? Do you know?
What's that?
Do you know what games? Call of Duty guy, Madden guy. Like, what was
I
he?
didn't ask. I should have asked that question. I'm not giving myself, so it wouldn't have said much to me. But eventually, his mom got tired of it and just like kicked him out of the house. It was like she made him go to this tryout camp for like Dominican players in New York, and he was awesome there, even though like he really had no experience playing basketball. And Mark Shue, who's like a longtime assistant coach or whatever, like saw him there and called his buddy in Phoenix at like a very small junior college and was like, you got to get your eyes on this guy. And somehow this guy got his mom's phone number, and the mom is like, she just basically kicked him out of the house, drove him to the airport. It's like, you're going to Arizona to this junior college. And that's how his career, and this was like, 4 years ago or whatever. So, I mean, like the upside, and it's incredible, like how good his feel for the game is, considering that like he's never really been coached. Like this is like really his first year.
It's all from the gaming, hand-eye coordination.
I guess so. Maybe that's the key. 18 straight hours of gaming. If you want to be a good player, kids, that's what you got to do. So I don't know what he's going to do, but I can see the argument both sides. And like selfishly, like I would love to see him at Michigan. Like how awesome would that be? Like watching him in the Big Ten all year, and so. But like, I mean, he looked amazing in the scrimmages yesterday, and then in the drills the day before. So like he could be in the top 20. So that's hard to turn down. Also,
I agree. I mean, I think if you're him, like playing the Danny Wolf role, you're going to have a big opportunity there in Michigan. You're filling huge shoes there with what Wolf did there.
Right.
And it's an opportunity for him to maybe be a lottery pick.
Right.
Even though he'll be a bit older, considering his developmental background.
Yeah.
Maybe like it really, I think it depends on team situation, who's making the promise, and do you feel that's better for your future and your development versus making like a pretty good bag of money at Michigan
$3 million or whatever. Yeah.
Like that's a great opportunity, and you could win a lot of games at a high level. Now with Danny Wolf, he's somebody I haven't been super high on. I view him as a lot of flash, not a lot of substance. He's an inefficient scorer from three. Like he takes step backs, but he doesn't make a lot of them. He's a poor free throw shooter.
Did he shoot 38 for three or whatever? What did he shoot?
I think he shot like 32 in the end.
Maybe
or something
in the
like
Big
that.
Ten.
Yeah, I think in the Big Ten he shot better.
Let's pull it up. Yeah.
He had some good stretches, but he's a sub 70% guy from the free throw line. Average assist to turnover ratio. I see the appeal.
Yeah.
I see the appeal with Danny Wolf.
Yeah.
But I can't get there with Danny Wolf. So what am I missing? Why do so many teams have him as a top 20 guy?
He's just so unique, like you don't see a 7-footer playing point guard, passing off a live dribble, playing 4 or 5
behind the back.
He's so creative and he's so skilled, right hand, left hand, Euro steps. I mean, that's really intriguing. And so, I think you wonder, with a better shot diet, would he shoot better? I mean, like when you're handling the ball as much as he did, like it's hard to be like a really high 3-point percentage guy. And then I just think like the length. I mean, 7'2" wingspan, 9'1" reach, 250 pounds. Like his measurements were very impressive for a guy who, is going to pretty much play the 4. He can slide up to the 5, dribble, pass, and shoot, and also racked up a lot of rebounds, a lot of blocks, a lot of steals. So he's got a feel for the game too. And again, interesting backstory. Went to Yale, barely played as a freshman. It's rare that you see a guy transfer up from the Ivy League to the Big Ten and become a much better player. Even though he's played 3 years of college basketball, I think he's got real upside to him too. I mean, I think he made huge gains athletically. I went to watch him, because they were in New Haven, so I went to games, and then the Ivy League tournament was right by my house at Columbia. I live in Harlem, so it's I couldn't believe how much more athletic he got this year, and so I wonder is there another gear that you can unlock there? And so but he's definitely polarizing.
And I think also part of the appeal with a guy like that, or, even with Raynaud and among others, Sorber, double big seems to be back for a lot of teams in the NBA.
Sure.
You're seeing Minnesota use it. Of course, you see Houston use it in the first round. Yeah. You see the Knicks starting to integrate it after not doing it all year with Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns, right, among other teams. Yeah. So do you find that when you talk to teams, has the importance and the use of double big increased the value of some of these bigs in the NBA draft class?
Definitely. I mean, the NBA is such a physical league right now. I mean, the playoffs, every game I watch, it's it's like a freaking war inside the paint. And so, you need bodies. You need big bodies inside. I mean, offensive rebounding is very important. The bigger you are, I mean, you're going to be a better defensive team. It's just very hard.
We just saw the Luke Cornett game.
Exactly.
Channeling the spirit of Bill Russell for the Celtics, extending the series.
Look at the Cavs, how tough they were to score on defensively with Mobley and Jared Allen. So I do think size is back, and it's really important, and that's why all the bigs in this draft are going to get really long looks, even the guys in the second round.
Next question here. Let's go from big to small. Tahad Pettiford. He had a really good scrimmage game. He's still testing the waters of the NBA draft. Tahad Pettiford measured at 6 foot flat, right? 160 something pounds.
6.5, yeah, with it barefoot.
I mean, he's super small. If Pettiford is 3 inches taller, 20 pounds heavier, fair to say he's a top 5 pick with his skill level?
Probably, yeah.
Probably in the Jeremiah Fears type of range.
If he's how big?
If he's 2-3 inches taller, 20 pounds heavier.
He'd be a different player, though.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's such a hooper. He had to develop the left hand, the right hand. He's pretty much ambidextrous.
He's got the Mike Conley offhand floater. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and then I mean, just the stop and start game. I mean, the change of pace. I was at P3, and they were saying he's one of the best athletes that we've ever seen in terms of just breaks, gas, kind of in that James Harden, Luka Doncic mold, obviously very different size, but the ability to stop and start and, get to places on the floor, and then, so skillful with the pull-up jumper, and then he made some really nice passes yesterday too. He's getting underneath people defensively. So Tahad Pettiford is an absolute baller. I mean, the guy was a freshman. Biggest moments of the season, had his biggest games.
Clutch.
So I mean, he's a hooper, man.
Yeah, I love that dude. I mean, I just obviously wish he was a little bit bigger, but at the same time, I feel with the skill level with him, he's still worth, mid first to me. But do you think he stays in the draft, or is he's someone that would require a promise?
I think the games today, the scrimmage will be very important, so we'll see what happens there. But I think it's 50-50 also.
Next question. Who's your favorite prospect not at the Combine this week?
Oh, so from the 7 international guys?
Could be international guy. Could be, even a G League guy. Someone who didn't get the call up. Could be anybody.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of these guys in Europe are not able to make to the Combine because they're all playing in their playoffs. So I would have loved to see Hugo Gonzalez out here, just to see him playing 5-on-5, just wreaking havoc defensively, getting out in the open court, to get a better feel for his shooting, just where is he at with that part of his game. And I think people would like to get to know him better too. I mean, he's just been so under wraps and with Real Madrid, and his issue is that his season might the game 5 of the ACB finals would be the day of the NBA draft, June 25th. So it's he might not even be able to do his medical, any of that stuff. So that's just going to be a real challenge.
Does he do Zoom interviews over that month?
Yeah, I think people are going out there and they do have the opportunity to work him out, get to know him, all that. But I'm sure he'll do Zoom interviews, but just it's not really the same, like
No.
being able to go from facility to facility and do all these private workouts. And so, I mean, and he's a guy that people really need to get to know better because he's had this really uneven season where it's just like his playing time has been so inconsistent. But like we saw him 3 years ago at the under-17 World Cup with, going head to head with Cooper Flagg. And like, I still remember that gold medal game really vividly. They were both 15 years old at the time. And like, I mean, it was like, who's better, at that in that moment, all these FIBA events, like Hugo was always the guy, like over Jonas and Diego Demin and Nolan Traore. And it's like, he's been surpassed by these guys, a lot of it because his situation is so poor. And, he's not like this perfectionist 3-and-D guy that he needs to be to get a lot of playing time in the EuroLeague. Like it's such a high level of competition that they play at that I wonder like how would he look if he were at for example, or even in college. Like I think we'd be talking about him as a lottery pick.
Is he locked into this year's draft class?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Okay,
Yeah, so I asked his agent that same exact question a couple of days ago, and he's like, "Man, the cards are going to fall where they fall, and somebody's going to get a steal, and so we'll just it'll play out."
Interesting. Will he come to the NBA next season, or could he stay overseas?
Oh, he's definitely coming.
Okay.
If it's up to him, he's definitely coming.
I see. Cooper Flagg, you hear people say he's the best prospect since LeBron at number one. You hear people best since KD Odin back in 2007. Where do you think
we just had Victor? So I mean. Where I stand on Victor, and so I don't think I think
just since
Victor is the best prospect that I've evaluated
ever.
Yeah, I mean in the draft, like I've been doing this for 20 years. So I wasn't 2004 was
college prospect specifically.
Oh, college.
How about college? Let's remove international.
Dude,
let's remove high school.
I can't
even remove LeBron high school. Just best college number one pick since who?
Zion. I mean,
okay, so you wouldn't go back further.
Dude, Zion at Duke was
amazing.
Unreal. Like we still haven't seen like what Zion really is, but like that it was much must-watch basketball every time he stepped on the floor. Just the dunks and like I mean it was unreal. That from the opening moment, the Champions Classic. Zion was incredible, man. Just and I hope that one day, like everybody gets to see in the NBA what we all saw from Zion, because when he's played, he's been unbelievable. So like if I'm an NBA team, like I'm trying to trade for Zion right now, man.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean that guy could be a top 5 player in the NBA.
If he stays healthy, and if he's in prime shape.
He's in shape. We just saw him at the lottery, man.
It's not crazy to say. Yeah. It really isn't. We see the flashes,
it takes
the
guys
moments.
Time to figure it out sometimes. So
of course, and he's still young.
I'm still a Zion guy.
Still a Zion guy.
Yeah.
So if you're a GM, you're trying to trade for Zion right now.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
New Pelicans
Let's
front
put
office.
him with Victor.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. If you're the Spurs, would you rather trade for Giannis or Zion?
Giannis is proven.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
he's
what you're
top
getting.
20 all time.
I'm not like rolling the dice.
But if you don't get Giannis, if Giannis goes to say Houston or somewhere else, if then you're the Spurs, maybe then you turn to Zion.
100%.
That'd be intriguing.
Yeah,
talk about two of the weirdest players in the league, Victor Wembanyama.
Good luck guarding that.
Oh my God,
yeah.
I almost would rather have that
from
a fun excitement standpoint. But Giannis obviously makes him a winner right away. Now with Cooper, he's going to be the number one pick. Is there anyone in the league, or is there any potential trade package that you could see the Mavs trading out of number one for?
No, I mean Nico would get fired if he even brought that up. Honestly, you saw when Tim McMahon reported that the Mavericks are taking Cooper Flagg number one, you saw basically what the source was. It came straight from ownership. So it's like I don't see any scenario that they would even entertain that.
No scenario. Who's most likely to slip this year? We see guys, all the time. Buzelis last year, Cam Whitmore, different guys always slip. Somebody inevitably will this year. Who's most likely to slip out of top 5 or top 10 range?
I think this is going to be a pretty stable year. I don't see, anybody dropping dramatically like last year or 2 years ago or whatever.
Killian Hayes is my biggest whiff ever in the draft. What's yours?
I need to think about that one. Let me get back to you. There's a lot, it's a long list. I mean, every year you do this. It's been 20 years now. It's
there's always whiffs.
There's nobody that keeps me up at night, because you're learning every year. You go back to your experience. So every night I'm watching the playoffs. I'm like, when did I first see that guy? What did I think about him? How did he evolve? And like these guys change so much, and so that's part of the process. And I need to think more about that.
Mark Stein reported that the Hawks want Masai Ujiri. It feels like Masai's involved in this stuff literally every other year. Any possibility that this is actually the time he could leave?
I haven't asked him that, so I have no idea. But everybody should want Masai Ujiri. He's one of the best executives in the NBA. One of the best,
absolutely. For over a decade now, he has been. Yeah. My draft crush this year is Cedric Coward out of Washington State. I think that dude, 6'5", 7'2" wingspan, the shooting ability, the defensive ability, the versatility with him. I think that dude is going to be a really good NBA player for a long time. Do you have a draft crush this year?
A crush? So let's see, like a guy that I just like love.
Yeah, you're
watching. But I don't look at it that way. They're all my guys, you know. Like I've seen all.
You have a guy. I mean, we all like. There's favorites.
But I can't. I don't. That's not how I look at the draft. Honestly,
how do you look at the draft then?
I mean, I look at the draft as it's opportunity. It's opportunity for teams to get better. And, you know, I've been watching all these guys. I want them all to pan out, you know, like it to be good because, like, you spend so much time around them from such a young age. And, you know, you just hope that they stay healthy and they are in the right opportunity, right platform, right opportunity, right development. And I think, like, that's kind of like a fan way of looking at it, you know, like, and I just think back to, like Rob Muirs, who is like this old school international scout who worked for like San Antonio Spurs, and he had a part in drafting Ginobili and like the New Jersey Nets. He was one of my mentors, like when I was like coming up in this business, like as like a teenager and then my early 20s, and he would just hammer me on every call. He's like, "You're looking at the draft like a fan. Like you need to get that out of you." So it's always been kind of in the back of my head. It's like, don't be a fan. And so like that's something.
What's the difference? Like so, like looking at it as a pure evaluator. How would you describe looking at it through that lens rather than like the fan lens?
Everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. And, you know, I think a lot of it is going to come down to like where these guys are and, you know, what makes them tick, you know, like their brain and their heart. And, you know, like guys are going to evolve too. Like how adaptable are you to different situations and like how do you respond to adversity? That's like the hardest part in this process. Like, you know, it's something that we're not very good at, honestly, is like figuring out. It's like also like we're not doctors too, so we don't know like Giannis was 196 pounds when he came to the NBA. He was 6'9", and now he's like 265 or whatever. He's a 7-footer. He's like, he looks like freaking He-Man, you know? So like, it's hard to project sometimes. And so other guys like didn't make it. Like Zion, for example, he hasn't reached his potential yet because of the injury stuff. Like we don't know. So like what could have been in a different, I sometimes I wonder like, what if, Kawhi was drafted by the Wizards and Jan Vesely was drafted by the Spurs. You know, like how would their careers have played out? You know, the Wizards were like a dumpster fire at that point in time. You know, like it's just like all these Javaris Crittenton and, you know, like
he never improves his jumper. Right?
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. So what, you know, how does the complexion of the NBA change? Like, you know, do the Raptors win a championship? So like, you know, you could drive yourself crazy with all this stuff. So that a lot goes into, you know, like whether a guy's going to make it or not. But it's beyond like whether you like them
for
or you're
sure.
For them,
I mean, you're speaking to how like situation and opportunity and environment play such a pivotal role. It's nature and nurture,
definitely,
not just one.
Definitely,
it's both together, right?
100%. Yeah.
Some quick hit questions for you, Jonathan.
Okay.
Best shooter in the class?
Khan Knipple.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, no, I mean, just the way that he can come off. I've gone to like Duke practice and like just seen him work out and just like the footwork and the mechanics and the ability to like come off movement and shoot off the dribble. And then like, but he's obviously much more than a shooter. He can also play pick and roll. He's a really good passer. He's a tough defender. Like his feel for the game is elite. But that's something that you can really bank on is like that shooting ability. And that's going to be like his calling card early on in his career. But I think he's going to eventually evolve and be, you know, like a Klay Thompson type of guy who like is not just a shooter.
I got him coming on the podcast. Probably will air it next week. 19 years old.
Yeah.
Acts like he's 39. Like the maturity level is outrageous.
For sure.
It feels like I'm sitting down with an adult, not a teenager. Who has the highest defensive upside in this class?
Probably Malawach, just because of the tools and just how much he's improved over the last few years with his body and his mobility and his feel for the game and also his skill level. I mean, first time I watched Kaman Malawach, he was 15 years old. He was playing at the NBA Academy games in Mexico, and he was just like this scrawny guy who could barely, chew gum and walk at the same time. And he was playing so hard, but like he had terrible hands. And I was like, man, it's going to be like a long road for this guy. And just see like year after year, the work that he's put in. And how much I bet on a guy like that personality. He lights up every room that he's in. You ask anybody that, has been his teammates, just like he's beloved. And so I just think that like if he stays healthy, like he's going to be an absolute game changer.
So you put him ahead of the highest defensive upside, ahead of Flagg, Murray, Boyles.
Close. I mean, Cooper's instincts defensively are the best in this draft. I'm not even sure that we got to see like the full extent of it this year because they relied on him so much as a shot creator, offensively, and they didn't do so many different things.
He had more of those like wow plays in high school than in college.
He did the blocks and all that. But yeah, I mean, just like the way that he covers ground, his processing speed, it's incredible.
He's like the highest upside safe defensive player in the class. And I like Murray Boyles a lot, but it'd also be nice to see him in a winning situation doing it. Let's see. Next we have the lottery pick with the biggest red flag.
I wouldn't call it a red flag, but I would like to see Derek Queen. I think if Derek Queen is going to reach his full potential, he's going to have to get himself in better shape. I think just seeing him at the combine, how like methodically he was going through the drills, and I interviewed him too. I asked him this question, like, what kind of shape are you? And he said, 7 or an 8, and he's this like jovial guy who's like the life of the party. Like everybody loves Derek Queen, but I think like a lot of young NBA players, I think it's gonna figuring out like making this like your full-time job and just like treating your body like a temple and like and I think that's gonna come down to the NBA team that drafts him too, and just like surrounding with the right people and nutrition and strength and conditioning. I think he will get there because I do think he loves basketball. I think he's competitive, and so I think that if he finds that extra gear with his motor and his conditioning, like the guy's an all-star. Like there's no doubt about it.
I think he's a great example of a guy where situation, environment is going to matter a lot. Like you want him in a good situation.
Yes, 100%.
And now next question, the non-lottery pick most likely to end up the best player in the class.
That's a great question. Let me pull up my board again, but if I felt that way, then I would have them in the lottery. But let's see. So let's do the cutoff. I'm intrigued with Carter Bryant.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the tools and the defensive versatility and the feel for the game and the shooting, the body, the character. Just the way that Arizona raves about him and just the improvement that he's made over the last
shooter. Like conference tournament and NCAA tournament, he shot like 45% on a higher volume.
Everybody's looking for that player in today's NBA, and like he could end up going in the lottery when it's all said and done. So I'm interested to see where he lands.
And because we're doing this 23 questions, we're here in Chicago. The Bulls, they are perennially average.
Yeah.
They are always average, 39 wins, 42 wins, play-in. Maybe next year in the East with Tatum out for most of the year, they'll get home court advantage with 40 wins next year in the weak Eastern Conference if Giannis goes west. Maybe that's what will happen. Who do the Bulls need to take with their lottery pick? The highest, is it a high upside player? Is it a safe player? How should the Bulls be approaching the mid-late lottery here with their first round pick?
Blow it up. Yeah. Give the fans what they want. They've been calling
You're speaking my language, Jonathan.
Okay, but we just finished talking about how brutal it was for Utah and Washington and New Orleans, to have this like miserable year. But like still I'd rather be drafting 6, 7, 8 as opposed to 12.
I agree.
Right?
Yes.
So
you're trading Kobe White. You're trading
everybody.
Yeah. And because next year's draft class
is going to be phenomenal. Yeah, it's a very exciting
There's like
group.
3 Cooper Flaggs, not just one, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how they do in college, but like, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonza, Cam Boozer, Nate Ament, like it's and then like it keeps going. Kareem Lopez, Jaden Quinton. So like and then all these guys that came back to college also. It's going to be a really fun draft.
Yeah, I mean, it could be next year is going to be awesome. Like this year's fun. I think it's going to be a good draft class with a lot of good players. But next year, it's like that's the year you even if you end up at number 5, you might be okay with that.
Yes.
You really might be. Jonathan, appreciate you joining me today, man. This means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.